we just learned that Trump, via executive order again, is trying to get rid of collective bargaining rights for the entire federal workforce. And so that's massive. And also, how is this not illegal? In fact, the Union of Government Employees immediately sued. The American Federation of Government Employees is suing Trump for this move. Let me just throw this up here. It purports to end collective bargaining at federal unions, including Department of Agriculture, Defense, Health and Human Services, Justice, State and Veterans Affairs, as well as EPA and USAID. It authorizes the Transportation Secretary to exclude the FAA and any other subdivision from labor rights. I mean, and again, he pulled that over last Thursday night, relying on a rarely used provision of the federal labor law that allows the president to exclude agencies from long-standing unionization rights if he determines that those agencies are primarily engaged in national security work. Like, this feels like some kind of, like, again, everything's like a Red Scare holdover. But, like, everything we're seeing, Kim, until now, it's been like 65 days, is a massive attack on workers, right? And let's just start with federal workers, right? There's a massive attack happening on them and their rights. And now it's like, okay, and for those of you who are not dismissed or forced to resign or, given the, a buyout or whatever, I'm just going to take away your rights to unionize. So for those of us who want to feel safer that our Department of Agriculture workers are being fairly represented or the FAA employees have breaks, are able to rest safely, do their jobs to keep the rest of us safe, that's going to be potentially, obviously he's being sued, out the window. I mean, how do you sort of understand, I know there's also talking about TSA, the TSA contract, again, speaking of keeping us safe, allegedly, right? Like, I'm, a post 9/11, anti-war organizer, so I'm like, the TSA, but their contract was unilaterally terminated. Their bargaining rights were terminated by Donald Trump. Like, I guess maybe just talk about what this kind of fucking setback, this attack on federal workers.
I see it, man. It sucks. It's bullshit. I'm pretty sure it's illegal. Not that matters. But the thing is, I've seen a lot of people, people who have been around longer than I have, say this is the biggest attack on labor rights, on collective bargaining rights in their living memory. And that's a big deal. This makes Reagan and the PACO strike in 1981 looked like a sort of reasonable guy. And that set the labor movement back decades. And one of the things that is so irksome about this, on top of how cruel and unjust and probably illegal and just generally up it is so much of it is so petty.
Yeah.
He is upset that AFGE and other government unions have been suing him. He's upset they've been fighting back and speaking back. And he is especially upset that a lot of those employees, those workers under the Biden administration, they renegotiated their contracts and got set in stone these longer contracts that ensured their contracts would outlast this Trump administration. So they thought ahead. They wanted to protect workers.
The one area that did, thank God, that's actually news to me, because I keep on being like, didn't you see this coming? But that's actually really important to know. They were like, okay, we're going to Trump-proof this.
Yeah, so they actually tried, because they knew, it is no surprise to anyone with more than two brain cells to rub together that this is going to be an anti-worker administration. This is going to attack workers, poor people, anybody who's not on board with this fascist agenda. And the unions, they know, at least the ones that were paying attention, not sucking up to Mark Twain, whatever, from Oklahoma, they knew that they were going to need to plan. So getting those contracts renegotiated, sent stone before Trump came in, that was smart. That was good. And that made Trump so mad. It seems like he's really going after anything even remotely Biden associated, any kind of holdover, anything that seems like it was a preparedness measure. But this matters so much, because these are the employees that generally have really strong protections. These are government workers. These are people that have it pretty good in terms of the government letting them unionize, letting them have their rights. They're strong unions. There's a lot of union members, and they've been getting laid off and cut off at the knees for the past 65 days. And here's the thing, these are federal workers. Most of us aren't federal workers. they're going to come for you next. This is a shot across the bow. He just happened to have this convenient legal semi loophole to pull through. The goal is to crush the labor movement, is to eradicate the labor movement, and really to eradicate so much of work as we know it and replace it with something worse and more exploitative. Just completely erase collective bargaining rights, completely erase anything resembling a fair work week. One thing that came out, I think it was just today or yesterday, one of the many agencies that they're going after, they're dismantling, is one called NIOSH, National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health. And that is what it's not the flashiest agency, but it is incredibly important. It's an independent research agency that looks into pandemics, looks into worker safety, specifically really dangerous fields like coal miners and agriculture, firefighters, construction, healthcare workers, and young workers. They're the ones assembling the data and doing the research and creating the science that we need to implement health and safety regulations. When I was reporting on the black lung crisis in Appalachia last year, I was talking to NIOSH because they had all the data. And now the Trump administration is just getting rid of them.
I read that data. I mean, that was critical reporting. If you guys haven't read Kim's reporting on black lung in Appalachia, I mean, it's excellent stuff. And I do remember that, like, okay, wow, we've been tracking this.
Yeah, and now they just gave them the chop. Like the coal miners union just put out a statement today, and they're not necessarily they don't make that many political statements, right? But they put out a release today talking about the Trump administration's war on coal miners, because this is such a critical agency and this agency has offices in Morgantown and Wheeling, West Virginia that do that research where people are struggling with this horrific disease and with mine safety in general. And like, if the Trump administration is lost the coal miners, is cutting off the coal miners, there is nothing on God's green earth that's going to keep him from coming after you next. Sure. And that's what I really want to emphasize. Because, like, yeah, okay, federal workers, okay, like they just do something in a building somewhere. You're next, baby. They're coming. This is just the path of least resistance.
Absolutely. I mean, I guess I wanted to ask you, speaking of, you said, anyone with two brain cells together could see that he was going to be pretty anti-worker. I mean, I know people who thought he was going to be pro-worker. I know people who thought he was a populist. I also know people like Sean O'Brien. I don't know him, but I know that he was out there saying, we can work with him. He wants to speak at the RNC, and he did, and some folks thought maybe that was a strategic move. Sean O'Brien, last I heard, was like, let's wait and see how it all shakes down. Wait and see. Look at this. I mean, look at what's happening. I guess I want to ask you politically, as you just mentioned, these coal miners don't really put out political statements or saying Trump's attacking them. How will this shape labor politically, you think?
I am really interested to see what happens there too, right? Because it's only been 65 days. We have been planning, probably should have been planning more in some cases, should have been a little more strategic. The Teamsters thing, talk about fumbling the ball, man. Feels not like getting a somewhat not entirely incredibly virulently anti-labor person to be the labor secretary. That was cool, I guess, but then immediately having every other appointment be the worst possible thing, like that, it's some real 3D chess there, buddy.
Right.
But it's honestly, I'm curious too, because this is kind of unprecedented. Like, labor's been under attack before.
Sure.
Like in many, many, many venues in many, many different ways. But the chaotic approach, the sort of incomprehensible aspects of it, where the actions of this administration are hurting business as well as labor, and so much animated by petty grievance and just things don't make no sense. It's hard to organize around that. And I've been kind of pushing union folks that I'm in touch with, and I've just had a conference at UMass Amherst all about strikes. We're talking about what is going to happen. What are we going to do about this? It can't just be another protest, can't just be another lawsuit. You can't just post our way to a general strike. But I think that there is really a recognition that, this is whatever thoughts we had that this might work out, we might be able to work with them. I think those are rapidly being disabused. I think it's very clear to working class people that this is not going great. Even the ones that voted for him, even the ones that thought, okay, maybe we can work with this. It's very clear, like firing 700 or taking away union rights, collective bargaining rights from 700,000 workers in one day. That's that's not a populist move. That's
No.
not a pro-worker move. Like Marco Rubio and Josh Hawley and all these jagoffs from Ivy League schools that pretend to cosplay as working class understanders, they're not on our side. You can try and work with them if you want, but you could also, walk off a fucking bridge if you want. You got free will. Either way, you're going to end up drowning in a bunch of bull. So I'm glad we have leaders like Sarah Nelson who understand this and who are really making it clear that this is war. This is class war. Like we like to say that we have the T-shirt, but we're beyond the shot across the bow. Like we got to get.
We're in it.
Created. Yeah, we're in it. Like
and you're reporting, even on the Amazon union efforts in Bessemer, Alabama, and just looking at the ways that these CEOs, whether it's Bezos, obviously Elon, we know that there's Elon is a notorious union breaker, illegally so, and has cases before him under the NLRB over his anti-union efforts as the head of Tesla and SpaceX. I mean, it's the bosses know, like the CEOs know which side they're on. They know which side their bread is buttered. They're throwing down with fascism if it means they can prevent a union drive at their company. And I just wanted to mention, because it's so funny, and Paige brought this to my attention about how, right now Doge is trying to like defund PBS, for example. And PBS gets, money from the government. Not a lot, but $500 million it gets from the government, which even sounds like a lot. But anyway, Sesame Street Workshop, by the way, which is a nonprofit that's behind the Sesame Street production, 200 employees announced they wanted to form a union, that they are all on board. They're doing it. There's a union drive happening. Then Sesame Street Workshop was like, oh, sorry, we're going to fire a bunch of people. Times are tough. We're firing everybody. And it's just so sick, because it kind of shows you the way that, again, it's not about liberal or Republican or conservative. It is about who are the bosses, and they're using a pretense, whatever it is. If they're using the pretense that we might be losing funding from the government, they are on board with anti-union behavior, and they know that Trump's NLRB probably won't hold them accountable for firing a bunch of people immediately after they announce their unionization efforts. So again, it's just it's even Sesame Street,
Right, no one is saving. Not for nothing, the NLRB isn't going to do anything because there's no people there. Gwen Wilcox and I can't remember her name, my bad, but they're the other person. They had that whole thing where he fired to the members because, oh no, they're Democrats, and it made it impossible for the NLRB to have a quorum to do things. Then they got reinstated by a judge. Then they got not reinstated. The NLRB can't do anything. And
I last heard when they were reinstated, so they got unreinstated.
Ping-ponging. They're ping-ponging. And it just mentioning Sesame Street and the myth of the progressive boss. It's even if you work for the nicest, sweetest, cupcake kitten of a boss in the world, when it comes down to it, if it's them versus you, if they're going to keep their job versus you keeping their job, welcome to the unemployment line, baby. There's no such thing as a good boss. There's a boss that you can organize against and intimidate and get to sign a union contract. That's a useful boss. But it really is disappointing to see these institutions and nonprofits and companies that have kind of a kinder, gentler, fuzzier edge, taking advantage of this moment to say, oh, okay, our workers do something we don't really like. They're going to cost us money because we're going to have to pay them better, give them better benefits. Well, our fund's getting pulled anyway. May as well get out ahead of this thing and make sure that our jobs are safe. Sure, 200 people's livelihoods are destroyed, and it will bring down the quality of the production and the show and set a terrible precedent. But I mean, I got bills to pay too. So there you go. It's have we seen union busting campaigns and everything from lefty podcast media shows to favorite your favorite public defender.
It's true though. It is very it is true. Kim Kelly, thank you so much. Where can people pre-order your book?
I always say to look for your local union bookstore if you don't have one yet. Help them unionize. But you can find it kind of everywhere books are sold. Amazon, I like Bookshop, the ILWU, which represents workers at Powell's. If you order from their link online, it contributes a little bit to their strike fund. So that's the best one, but right. So yeah, get it from someone cool and share it with people. And it comes out May 6th. If you want me to come to your library or your classroom, hit me up. I'm extremely online. I am very nice, even though I have neck tattoos.
I know you gotta go, but I just want to. What do you think? General strike possible, not possible by 2028?
Man, I've been chewing on this so much. 2028, I think that is. I know it's not as cool. I do like that plan. It's a smart plan. It's a practical plan,
Sure.
And I think it is a workable plan. It's also 2025. We got all this energy. We got so many people that want to do something. I know April 5th, there's a lot of big protests happening. I know May 1st, at least in Philly, and I'm sure in other places, there's another big demonstration happening. I think we need to think beyond protests. I think we do need to get a little bit more creative. I don't think that some of the online sort of Instagram-based general strike organizing things are really, I mean, bless their hearts, as they say in the South, but there's a lot of thinking and logistics and coalition building you need to actually build the conditions for a general strike that works, that includes people. And I gotta mention, just to be no fun Nancy, like if you are not unionized and you go on strike, you're not going on strike. That's an unexcused absence. You got nothing. So if you're thinking about organizing a general strike, if you want to use the strike language, words mean things. And as much as this country is a fascist hellhole with no cool laws, we have a couple labor laws left. And the ones that protect union members who go on strike, who engage in protected concerted activity, we still got a couple. So let's use them, because if we're all unemployed, it's going to be a whole lot harder to beat back the bosses. So let's research, mama. That's all I got to say.
What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room.